And Joel's been an old friend of mine through SCGIS for a while and our work in Central Africa. He works in international conservation and development. He works as the only GIS specialist at Creative Associates, which is an international development company here in DC. So I'm really excited about what he's going to present today on DRC, which is somewhere that I've worked for a while and is close to my heart and where we met. So take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's good to be here, and I hope you can hear me. Let me know if I need to shout louder. So I'm going to scroll. This is a scrolly map, story map. I used the Mapbox storytelling template, and I was just curious if anybody else is familiar with it or has used it before. Got a couple? Very cool. Yeah, so I think we're going to do another story map afterwards. What I like about Mapbox story maps, storytelling template, is that it's a so-called low-code solution, and it's accessible to people like me who don't consider themselves a front-end developer. But I have, in this case, I had a story that I wanted to tell using maps and geospatial data. So using their template, it's basically like you do edit HTML, some CSS, and JavaScript to kind of create a single page scrolled web map. And I think what's really powerful about the template is that because of that, you can see like journalism outfits like Washington Post kind of adapting it into a larger article and interspersing maps with their critical investigative journalism. So that's just a little background on how I built this. So the story map's about DRC. It's Central Africa. It's kind of the largest country in Central Africa, a big block of tropical forests and swamp forests. It's very diverse with biodiversity, has a lot of natural resource wealth as well, like minerals and tropical timbers. And it's got a lot of people, a really young growing population, approximately 100 million people, which will be continuing to grow rapidly. And it is very poor. It's ranked pretty low on the Human Development Index. There are various causes of that and various reasons for that. So I'm going to focus on the Ituri forest. It's the part of the Congo Basin forest that's kind of the most northeastern extent. It's really well known for really two things. The people, there's some indigenous groups there called the Mbuti and the Efi, and they still practice traditional hunter-gatherer lifestyles in forests. So that means they use nets and bows and arrows to hunt. And they also harvest honey, mushrooms, and other types of non-timber forest products for their sustenance. And they also practice traditional rites and ceremonies. So this is a picture of girls in their adolescent or puberty ceremony. The other notable characteristic of the Ituri forest is it's the home to the okapi. It's only found the okapi is an animal that's only found in the DRC. Its closest cousin is the giraffe, and it's just got a shorter neck, and I've got a picture of it here. I can just show you a picture better than describing it. So in 1992, a good chunk of the Ituri forest, a park the size of Connecticut, was created called the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. It's a multiple-use protected area, meaning that there are villages and indigenous peoples inside of it, and that the creation of the reserve accounted for their traditional lifestyles, their hunting, their agriculture work, for their sustenance, but it also has a dual goal of preserving okapi, elephant, and chimpanzees, among other species, as well as the larger habitat. So it is also designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So there are a number of challenges in the reserve, especially like militarized poaching for elephant ivory, artisanal gold mining. The area and the region is rich in mineral deposits, as well as just there's been some militia activity in this part of the world and in this particular sub-region as well. So there's a lot of management challenges in the reserve. And I did mention artisanal mining. It's really like kind of small scale. People are using shovels and really just kind of digging by their own hand, manpower to try to find some minerals that they can sell. So I mentioned it's a huge area. It's the size of Connecticut. It does have some artificial boundaries and some natural boundaries. Sometimes the artificial boundaries, given that they're really just invisible, they're just kind of an imaginary longitude line in the forest. It's hard to know exactly, where can I legally do agriculture, like cocoa, because that's you're not supposed to do cocoa in the reserve, or where can I do timber? So that is sort of a source of tension with between management and the communities, as well as particularly like mining. Mining is not allowed in the reserve, but outside of the reserve, it's technically can be legal. So. For the last 10 years at least, there's a service in the mining ministry of DRC that has been using a reduced size map of the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. It reduces the size by about a third. So it's what's in a red outline here. Sort of shrinks in kind of a strange way, like from the west into the center, from the north into the center, and from the south into the center, but it sort of keeps the eastern boundary. So to me, it's like somebody just went into PowerPoint and just, dragged it and made it a different size. A little bit strange, but it has really resulted in a bit of a chaotic situation. The mining cadastre has been awarding concessions in that area that they consider outside of the reserve, but it is technically inside of the reserve because the original gazettement document for Okapi Reserve is very clear about where the boundaries are. So I mentioned the artisanal mining is a pretty consistent issue. There's artisanal mines noted here on the map, as well as a satellite image from 2017 that shows some of the kind of like deforestation around Muchacha, which is had at times a couple thousand miners in it, which park management would negotiate with them and try to get them to come out of the forest because they're not practicing in a very safe way, and also they're bringing a lot of people into the reserve and they need to eat, and so they often are impacting local wildlife populations as well. So if you notice, the background map switched to a mosaic of 2020, and there's been a lot of development. Like the white shows some roads that have been developed into this really remote area. There haven't been really new roads built there since the Belgian colonial period. And then development of a mine where there had been artisanal mines So this is really turning into an industrial operation from 2020 onwards. So next is gonna show 2021. So it's like both south of the Ituri River and roads have been extended north of the Ituri River, and a new mine has appeared right here. What this GIF here is showing is Global Forest Watch's integrated deforestation alerts. So it's like another source of imagery, but it's showing also, the satellite record shows deforestation in this area. So this is just showing kind of the larger picture. You see the kind of lighter green area is the reserve, and then the white is the new roads that have been built into this reserve, and then the dots are the deforestation alerts. And you can see can't really see the mines on the image there, but it's really turned into this pretty big complex, really deep in the forest, and it's kind of like a semi-industrial operation, which really has no legal basis for being there. There are concessions, but they're technically inside of the reserve. So it sets up this really tough situation for park management to try to preserve the area. So this is just the last part. So there are 5 World Heritage Sites designated in DRC, and 4 of them are on what's called the list of World Heritage in peril. And the one that came off of the list was on it for a long time. That's Salonga National Park. It recently was removed from that because of improved management. But I think when you're having a situation like this, things aren't getting any easier. So I'm just trying to use storytelling and maps to show kind of the progression of this and the impacts as well. And also try to tie that, the mining cadasters, erroneous maps are having that, visual impact. So with that, I'll close. Yeah, so the question was about the boundaries, like the boundaries of the reserve. I mentioned some of them are artificial and some of them are more natural. So even this area, the area where they are mining, both sides of the river are actually in the reserve. And the question was about, is there any way for people to visualize like an artificial boundary? And that is something that I think the park management has been working on. Basically just like cutting open, a couple meters wide area to demarcate it. But it is a really tricky situation. It's, 80 kilometers of tropical rainforest. So. Yeah, the question was about the provenance of that kind of that fake boundary of the reserve, and where did it come from, and how long ago, and so on. I'm aware of it, more of seeing it like as far back as like 2011. So it's been a number of years ago, and I think there is. Yeah, obviously these two ministries, the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Mining, are not having any coordination. I think, the Mining Ministry deems that their map of protected areas for DRC is what they should use and is correct, whereas the Mining Ministry is the one who's, verifying that the boundaries that are written into law are exactly what are presented in digital data, but obviously they're using different data sets. Yeah. So the question was, is there any entity that might have authority to like try to rectify the situation, especially around the inaccurate map? I think I'm not really like privy to the details or really involved in it, but I understand there's like a kind of an interministerial commission that's going to try to sort it out. I don't know what else there could be, but I mean, I think they both kind of have to come together and figure it out. You know, whether, I mean, my point of view is pretty strongly that they need to like clean up the mining cadastre and cancel those concessions, but I doubt that they're going to do that very easily. So, yeah. Do we have time for one more? Scott, you got time.
I was going to ask about kind of the process of making the story map itself, just in terms of what does it take from a technical perspective, skills perspective, even, you know, if we jump in and actually make these,
Yeah.
all the time that you make.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief because it's for me it's literally like putting together you know, like a 2,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. It just sort of, there's a lot of little moving pieces, but the process is really, you've got some kind of private data, your data that you're wanting to display, and so you and style, and so you upload that into Mapbox Studio. And then you can kind of style it based on the zoom level, and you know, you want something to fade out when you're at a certain zoom level. But then that also interacts with like the code. So the HTML file basically the website has these chapters. It basically says, all right, turn these layers off, and then go to the next layer, next chapter, turn these layers on with this level opacity, this level zoom, you know, focused on this area. So there's a lot of like little tiny minute decisions that you make to kind of create this, but the template's a great resource to start with.